Welcome to Midnight Mule FPL. I'm Midnight Mule and this is the video for the 5% series for Game Week 17. The idea of this series is if you only select players from the small pool of players I'm showing you, then you should kind of do alright in your mini leagues. I'm going to try and help you pick the right ones, but you can kind of pick whoever you want, and I'll try and explain why the ones I'm suggesting are maybe the ones worth biasing toward. Hopefully that made sense. We'll start as always by looking at what happened in the previous game week. So in Game Week 16, the goalkeepers in the system, Raya 6, Fabianski 4. And then we have Pickford 8, and that's all for the keepers. For the defenders, Gabriel 9, Gvardiol 7, Robinson 6, Saliba 6, Pedro Porro 6, Burn 6. And then defenders that hardly anyone owns, Mikolenko 7, and that's all. For the midfielders, Mbeumo 9, Fernandes 9, Salah 5. Gordon 6, Son 14, but if you didn't own him, don't worry about it because those 14 points are not going to hurt your rank. For the forwards, Isak 11, Jackson 9, Kuna 9, Solanke 5, and that's all from there. We'll now look at what we think of the various players in the system, starting with the goalkeepers. And I'll look at the first page first, then I'll try and explain what it all means. So Raya, 4 very nice fixtures coming up. Arsenal have a good defence. If you've got him, great. If you're playing your wild card and you can get Raya, great. If you've got 2 duff keepers that you've really had enough of or they never play, you could get in Raya if you could afford to. It's not worth taking a hit to bring in a goalkeeper though. So pretty much whichever keepers you've got, as long as at least one of them plays, you should probably stick with that until you come to a wild card or you've got like 3 or more transfers and you could play around a bit. Sanchez is the next most important goalkeeper. So his fixtures coming up, he could get 4 clean sheets, Everton, Fulham, Ipswich, Palace. Chances are he won't. But he is 0.8 currently cheaper than Raya. So he's fine. And if it was me choosing keepers now, starting now, I'd get Raya if I could. Otherwise, Sanchez would be all right. Apart from that, possibly Pickford, but Pickford's not going to hurt you. Or Fabianski, he's 4.1. He's not going to score as many points, almost certainly, as Sanchez or Raya, but he does release some money that you can use elsewhere. And it's so hit and miss what score the keepers are going to get when they keep a clean sheet. It's the least important position, I'd say. Then Flecken, he's 4.5 million, and he won't do as much damage as Fabianski. So I wouldn't be buying Flecken now, but if you've got him, that's all right. And same with Henderson. His fixtures coming up, there may be 1 clean sheet in there at the most if he gets them. So what I've added this week is you'll see a number in red. And for that, it means that player, if they got 6 points, that's how many points effectively they're going to hold against you. So if Raya scores 6 points and you don't own him, it's like you've just got minus 1.8 points. If Henderson gets 6 points and you don't own him, you get minus 0.6 points. So if we look at Fabianski, who's at minus 0.8 and Raya at minus 1.8, Fabianski scoring 6 points will do you minus 0.8 damage. If Raya scores 3 points, he does you minus 0.9 damage. So what that means is if Raya scores half as many points as Fabianski, he actually does your rank more damage if you don't own him. Now, if Raya gets 6 points and your keeper, which isn't Raya, also gets 6 points, it nets off to 0 and it doesn't matter. If your goalkeeper outscores Raya, that's great. You've got the better keeper. It only matters if these players we're looking at outscore your player in that position. And hopefully not too many of you have switched off at the moment. Let's see how it goes. So the second page of goalkeepers, which really don't matter if you don't own them. We have Sales. Forest were very good defensively. They are still good defensively. But he's really not so popular at the moment. 4.7 million, he's all right. But like I said, Fabianski's a bit cheaper and he can do you more damage. Pickford, I really like Pickford. 4.9 million. Everton doing what they did last season, which is the first few game weeks, no clean sheets. And then they managed to keep clean sheets. So the last several game weeks, Everton have been very good defensively. But they have now got Chelsea and Man City as the next 2. So not worth bringing Pickford in at all. But if you've got him, that's fine. He's a good keeper. Martinez of Aston Villa, Man City next, then Newcastle, then Brighton, quite possibly no clean sheets there, and he's 5 million, which is quite a lot. And if he keeps a clean sheet, it's only like getting minus 0.2 points, so it really doesn't matter how well he does if you don't own him. And then Ward represents any 4 million keeper that doesn't even play and he sits on your bench. Now, obviously, some of you might be saying, oh, if I have Martinez and he's lowly owned and he does well, that really helps my rank. And that is true. So if you could choose players who are lowly owned that do well consistently, you're going to do very well. But the trouble is that's very difficult to do. But it is very easy to choose players that are highly owned and hope they do well. Or try and work out which ones are likely to do well. So for the defenders, Gabriel's the most important defender at the moment. Could get 4 clean sheets and he's attacking. So lots of people sold him last week because we thought he might be injured not playing at the weekend. He did play, so now lots of managers are bringing him back in. Robinson, as things stand, I reckon is the second most important defender this game week because he got 2 assists last game week. He's consistently getting into attacking positions. He will get some attacking returns. He will get occasional clean sheets. And he's home to Southampton this game week, then Chelsea, then he's home to Bournemouth, and it looks like Ipswich as well. So he's got 3 of the next 4 fixtures are very nice. He's only 4.8 million. So managers are buying him in, and he's probably going to be quite popular. Then we have Saliba, 6.3 million. And last game week, people were selling Gabriel to buy Saliba, and possibly this game week, some of them are reversing it because Gabriel got 3 bonus points last week. So Gabriel got 9, Saliba got 6 points. All 3 of those on the screen at the moment are good defenders to own. Trent's a very good defender. Away to Spurs, reasonable chance of not getting a clean sheet this game week. May get an attacking return. But over several weeks, the expectation would be that Trent would do quite well. Pedro Porro, he's this high simply because he's so highly owned. So playing Liverpool this game week, probably won't get a clean sheet. Remote chance of an attacking return. Now, he didn't start last game week, but then Udogie went off injured after a few minutes. Well, nearly 30 minutes. So Pedro Porro came on and he was on the pitch, I think, for 62 minutes, which did give him a clean sheet. But had Udogie not got injured, he wouldn't have got the 6 points. So Pedro Porro is a tricky one because I think he's probably not worth owning. And if you've got him, that's fine. He's fine to keep. But if I was setting up a team now, I don't think I'd get Pedro Porro in personally. Then Gvardiol, 6.1 million, quite expensive, but I think he's now got 4 goals in the Premier League for Man City, which makes him the second highest scoring player for Man City, as in he's got 4 goals. Away to Aston Villa, so defensively they've not been very good recently, but he's always got the chance of an attacking return. So if you are only going to play 3 defenders, I think Gabriel, Trent and Gvardiol would be good sensible choices. Then you could have 2 bench warmers that always sit on your bench. If you need them, they come on, they get you a point. That's fine. So if we look at the scores here on this page, Gabriel at minus 2.3 would do you twice the damage of Gvardiol. So Gvardiol scoring 10 points does you less damage than Gabriel who scores 5 points, let's say. Second page of defenders, Virgil van Dijk. He's good. 6.5 million is quite expensive. If you can stretch to Trent and you want a Liverpool defender, then Trent would be the better option. Aina, when it's a low-scoring game and there's a clean sheet, he has a chance of getting some bonus points. But once they let in a goal, he's going to get you 2 points, maybe 3 at a push. Absolutely wouldn't bring him in, but if you've got him, that's all right. He's only 4.9 million. Lewis, he was suspended last game week, but he's been sold by so many managers now, he's not going to do you too much harm if he does well. If you can afford Gvardiol's a better choice than Lewis if you want a Man City defender, but Lewis is a considerably cheaper, so you would save money by choosing him. Burn, he's not very popular now. He's 4.4 million. So Masvidal, don't go buying him. He's currently flagged. We don't know if he's playing or not. And he's not very highly owned. He's not going to hurt you if he does well. Konza, not going to hurt you if he does well. Absolutely wouldn't go buying him personally, but if you've got him, he's all right to have. And then the last page of defenders, we have Mykolenko. So he has been at times getting good scores, but he's very lowly owned. So those scores, when he gets a good score, isn't going to hurt you. So I've got him. He's only 4.3 million. I'm calling him bench fodder because most weeks you're not going to choose to play him. Harwood Bellis, and I'm aware the graphics have gone off. I'll have to sort that out sometimes. If someone's got a longer name, it looks a bit weird now. So Harwood Bellis, bench fodder 4.1. Weltface, I think he didn't even play last game, not sure, but 4.1. Vandenberg. Now there's a game on just now, a League Cup game, and I think he went off injured during the warm-up, so he may now be an injured player. So don't go buying him, but he's just bench fodder anyway. Greaves, I think he's currently flagged, not playing, 4 million bench fodder. Van de Ven's got injured again, so we're going to take him out of the system. He's not even going to be in here next week. And Nori's suspended this game week. He got a red card, or 2 yellows become a red. So he's missing the Leicester game. He should be back for the Man United game. But then when he picks up the next yellow, if it's in the next 2 or 3 weeks, he's then going to get a 1-match suspension. But the upcoming Wolves fixtures after Leicester are not good. So if you've got Nori, it's absolutely fine to sell him to release the money to do something else more interesting. You don't have to sell him, but he's going to be sold by most managers who are active, which means his price is going to go down. Regarding the midfielders, as per previous week, Salah, Palmer, Saka, if you can get to these 3, that would be great. A lot of managers own these 3. If you don't own one of these and they do well, that's really going to hurt your score. So, for example, if any of these got 12 points, that wouldn't be surprising. Salah, if he gets 12 points, that's going to be like minus 11.8 for you. If Saka gets 12, it's like you scored minus 8.2, which is a big hit. And this is all about trying to stop you having too much pain. These 3 have got nice fixtures coming up. They're all nice and attacking. Very good. Mbeumo was getting sold a couple of weeks ago, but since then he's got 3 returns the last 2 games. He's getting bought back again, and he is quite popular. But he won't do you as much damage as any of the other 3, but he's only 7.6, which is a lot cheaper. We're adding Ahmad because he's been very attacking recently, but more important, he's now becoming very popular. And he's only 5.2, which is one of the reasons he's getting more popular. It looks like he's going to be probably quite a good buy. So it may be for your 5 midfielders, and you probably want 5. You'd have Salah, Palmer, Saka, Ahmed, and then another cheapish midfielder. And then the rest of your team might be nicely balanced. But with Ahmed or any Man United player, there is a risk of minutes. We still don't know exactly what all the formations are going to be that are going to get tried. Fernandez, 8.4 million, so costs more than Ahmad, and he's not going to do as much damage if he does well. But he's a good player, probably not worth buying. If you've not got him, I'd say don't bother buying him. If you've got him, that's great. He's a good player. Then Enzo we're adding as well. Again, he's a popular player. He's only 5.1 million, and he's going to hurt you a bit. So these 7 midfielders on the page now, these are the 7 that are going to hurt you the most. So Enzo's at minus 1.2. Mbeumo's at minus 2.4. So Enzo getting 10 points would do as much damage as Mbeumo getting 5 points, for example. So when we go to the next page, you'll see how these numbers are going down and down, which indicates they're really not going to hurt you if you don't own them. So Rodgers, Man City next, but Man City defensively have been very poor. It is a home game. He's not getting 90 minutes every game. There's a reasonable chance he could get a return. But managers are now selling Rodgers because Ahmed and Enzo look like better options going forward. They're marginally cheaper and they're now much more popular. So anyone wildcarding now wouldn't be getting Rodgers. If you've got him, you absolutely don't have to sell him. But if you want to move him on for somebody else, you could do. Bowen, expensive at 7.4 million. Couple of nice fixtures coming up, Brighton and Southampton. Probably not worth investing in at the moment. But if you've got him again, that's fine. There's probably better ways to spend your money though. Gordon, very nice attacking player. He got some decent points last game week. Ipswich next, then at home to Villa. Could easily get some decent points there. But again, if he does well, he's not really going to hurt your rank much because he's not highly owned at the moment. Semenyo, I think he may be flagged just now. And his popularity is going down. So I'd say it's not worth bringing him in. If you've got him, he's all right to have. If you've got transfer to spare and you want to move into Ahmad or Enzo, that's all right as well. Johnson, 6.6. I'd say probably not worth having. It's worth moving him on if you've got him and you've got nothing else to do. Don't go bringing him in. He's not going to hurt your rank. He's got Liverpool next anyway. So Luis Diaz is a good player. He's not getting 19 minutes though, but he's very lowly owned. at only minus 0.2. For every 6 points he gets, if you don't own him, it's like you get minus 0.2. So he has to score 30 points to give your rank a -1 score. Whereas Salah on the previous page, if he gets 2 points, that does you more damage. So if you don't own Salah or Luis Diaz, Salah getting 2 points does you more damage than Luis Diaz getting 30 points. That's how important it is to try and get the highly owned players to stop yourself getting damaged by other managers. Then the last page of midfielders, which of course really don't matter if you don't own these. Son did well last week, wouldn't have hurt your rank at all. At home to Liverpool coming up, may get something there. He is a good player. He will sometimes get good points. But if you have Son, you're gambling because you're using up one of your midfield positions. And if Son gets 2 points and everyone else has Mbeumo who gets 6-7 points, that's really going to hurt your rank. Now remember I said the reverse is true. If you have Son, he's a big differential. If he does well, that's going to really help your rank. But I think it's much more difficult to consistently get differential players, as in very lowly owned, that do well. That's much more difficult than to just get the popular players and hope they do all right to save your rank. We also have McNeil, who's massively dropping in popularity. Don't bother buying him. I think he's flagged. Dibbling. Southampton are getting a new manager. I really like Dibbling. He may do well coming on. He's only 4.5, so he's bench fodder anyway. If I was only going to play 4 midfielders every week, then I think Dibbling would be my 5th because it releases cash. But at the moment, he's going to do you no harm, but he is a very good player. Smith Rowe's massively dropped in popularity because he's not been getting the minutes. The next game is at home to Southampton, but he's probably not going to be very highly owned for that, so he shouldn't be hurting your rank. Then Winks, I think he's still flagged and not playing. Garnacho didn't play at all last game week. When he does play, he doesn't get great minutes. He's so lowly owned now, he's not going to hurt your rank. Don't go buying Garnacho. You don't have to sell him. But if you've got him and you want to sell him for somebody else, like Ahmad or Enzo, that's probably a good positive move. Isak has now become the most important forward because he's so highly owned. And he is getting good minutes, he's getting good points, and he's on penalties. So he's a good player to have if you can get to him. Jackson is also a good player, still on 4 yellow cards. He's been on 4 for a long time. Hopefully he's not going to pick up his 5th. He's got 4 nice fixtures coming up. Now, maybe Jackson realistically could outscore Isak in the next 4 game weeks. But if they get the same score and you own neither, then Isak's the one that's going to hurt you. So if you could afford either one, Isak is the slightly safer choice. So Kuna, absolutely don't buy him. There's a high probability he's going to get banned, and I suspect it might be for between 3 and 7 weeks because of something that happened after the game last game week. I think there's a reasonable chance he will play this game week though, because Wolves will appeal. They will lose the appeal, but by the time that process goes through, we'll be past the weekend. So I'm currently expecting Kuna to play. Now, if we hear he's not playing and you've got him, he's fine to sell if your bench isn't strong enough. And long term, you may want to sell him. There's a remote chance he'll get no ban. He may get just a 1 or 2 game week ban, in which case you may have more important things than to sell him. But he is going to go down in value over the next few game weeks. So don't buy him, but if you've got him, he could get a very nice score this game week. João Pedro, one of the reasons he's popular is he's only 5.9 million and he's a very important player to Brighton, and he does get returns maybe half the games on average, let's say. So he's quite good value for money. He is quite highly owned. So when he does well, if you don't own him, it is going to hurt you a bit. Wood, he just keeps getting 5, 6, 7 points. He's still scoring more often than not, but he's not getting massive scores. But at only 6.6 million, he ticks along quite nicely. So quite a few people have got Isak, Jackson and Chris Wood up front, or Isak, Wood and João Pedro, something like that. So Erling Haaland, he is now very lowly owned. If you don't own him, don't buy him this game week. Absolutely not, because he's not going to hurt your score. So if he gets 6 points and you don't own him, that's like you're scoring minus 0.6 points. So if he got 30 points, which would be an incredible, ridiculous score. If he got 30 points this game week, that would cost you minus 3 points. If Isak gets 6 points, you don't own him, that's going to hurt you by minus 3.3. So Isak scoring 6 points does you more damage than Haaland scoring 30 points. And Isak is much cheaper. So Isak would be the one you'd go for at the moment. If you've got Haaland and you want to keep him, that's okay, because after this game week, they've got 5 or 6 very nice games and he may get something. But if you've got Haaland, then you've probably not got the 3 big midfielders. And then Welbeck, he's flagged. Don't buy him. If I had him, I'd probably sell him, but you don't have to. But absolutely not worth buying. But if he plays, he might do all right. But he's not going to hurt you. He's going to hurt you even less than Haaland to hurt you. To the second page of forwards, these are really going to not hurt you if you don't own them. Watkins, he's currently flagged. He's playing Man City this week. If he plays, he might get something because Man City aren't great. So absolutely don't buy him. If you've got him, he's all right. If I had him, I think I'd be selling him. I'd just swap him for Isak or Jackson. Solanke's not going to hurt you at all. Home to Liverpool, absolutely don't go buying Solanke. Raul Jimenez, he's growing in popularity a bit. He only gets 50, 60 minutes a game, but he is quite good. He is very important to Fulham, and he's only 5.5 million. So one of the reasons he's popular is by buying Raul Jimenez as one of your forwards, you're freeing up cash to spend on your midfield. Vardy at home to Wolves this game week. Vardy seems to be scoring on average every other game, but he's very lowly owned. He's not going to hurt you too much. So you don't need to worry about Vardy, but if you've got him at only 5.6, that's nice. And some managers are going to have Raul Jimenez, Vardy and João Pedro, let's say, which is a very cheap front three, but it means their midfield could be very, very nice and they could have some nice attackers. But that also means if Isak or Jackson does well, that's going to hurt their rank. Havertz, absolutely don't buy him. If you've got him, I think it's worth selling him and get a striker that's much more highly owned, because Havertz is just not going to hurt you if you don't own him and he does well. And then Cannon represents any 4.5 million forward that just sits on your bench and doesn't even play. So we're now going to look at the benching order. This is my suggested benching order. You do whatever you like. But if you want a second opinion, this is what I think. The first goalkeeper you see that you've got, I suggest goes on your bench, which means you're playing your second keeper. So if you've got a 4 million keeper that's not even playing, of course they're on your bench. Then for this game week, I'm suggesting it's Martinez, Pickford, Henderson, Fabianski, Sales, Flecken, Sanchez, then Raya. Now regarding the other players, the first player you see that you've got, I suggest is position 3 in your bench, the next one position 2, the last one position 1. If you sort your bench out, it means the other 11 players will sort themselves out. So any 4.5 million striker that doesn't play, they're on your bench. Aiton already suspended. Greaves probably not playing. Winks still flagged. Harwood Bellis of Southampton, not going to keep a clean sheet. Van der Berg, who may actually be injured now. Weltface, Konza, Dibbling, Mikalenko, McNeil, Lewis, Aina, Semenyo, Mazarel, Johnson, Garnacho, Smith Rowe, Byrne, Welbeck, Pedro Porro, Rogers, Bowen, Vardy, Solanke, Enzo, Ahmad, Raul, Wood, João Pedro, Gvardiol, Virgil van Dijk, Watkins, Luis Diaz, Gordon, Robinson, Trent, Mbuemo, Son, Saliba, Gabriel, Havertz, Kuna, and then Jackson. Obviously, if Kuna gets banned, he's not even going to play if he gets banned for this coming game week. But if you've got him, at the moment, just assume he's playing. Now, for captaincy, there's a fair choice this game week. Palmer, Salah, and Saka, they're all quite good options to wear the old Mule hat. I suspect Salah's going to be the most popular, and then Palmer. It's hard to say which one's going to go. If you've got both, then one is captain, one is vice captain. That's a fair choice. Salah's probably slightly safer choice because he's going to be more highly owned, and I think he's blanked twice so far out of 16 game weeks. Other choices though, Isak's a good choice. Fernandes could be worth a punt. If you've got Haaland, you may want to captain him. Entirely up to you. So one of these captain, one of these vice captain, or any of the green midfielders or forwards from the previous pages, they'd be all right as well. As for the background picture, well, I got a couple of kittens here. One of them in a yellow top is knocking the glasses off another kitten, which to me looks like a bit of harmless fun. So let's hope he doesn't get into trouble for that. And that's my suggestions for Game Week 17. Thank you very much for watching. I realise adding those used numbers may seem a little bit complex or too much information, but it's to try and highlight how much difference there is in importance between, for example, the first few midfielders I show you, and then once we get to the 6th and 7th, you really do want to be trying to get as many of the popular players as possible, because when they do well, they're the ones that are going to hurt your rank. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a good game week and a good Christmas. Thanks. Bye.